Hello, my little young boys and young men. Lovely to see you as usual. And life goes on day after day. It's a pleasure to see you all. Today I have chosen this story, The Dumppi Visits Party. And this is Mr. Dumppi, and the author is my favorite in Blyton. Let's get started. The Dumppi visit was just like his name, fat, round and dumpy, as you just saw. Okay. He was a nice old fellow, as merry as a blackbird, and he simply loved going parties. People loved going to his parties too. They were so jolly, always lots of nice things to eat and exciting games to play. Who would love to go to such parties, wouldn't you? But the Dumppi visit was very particular about the people he invited to his parties. He wouldn't have anyone with bad manners. He wouldn't have anyone untruthful. He wouldn't have anyone greedy. So if you were untruthful, you were dishonest, you didn't have polite manners, and if you were greedy and didn't care whether the other person got the share of the goodie or not, you were not invited. He would not have anyone greedy, so if someone was left out of one of his parties, people always knew that there was something wrong with them just then. Now, one day, Tricky, the gnome, was running down the street and he turned the corner quickly. Bum! He banged right into Dumppi the wizard, and they both fell over. Dumppi sat in a puddle. Tricky banged his head against a wall. "What did you do that for?" roared Dumppi. "What do you mean?" yelled back Tricky. "You bumped into me as much as I bumped into you." "Why don't you look where you're going?" shouted Dumppi. "I was, but you came where I was just about to go," cried Tricky. Tricky names tells us a lot. "Don't be silly," said Dumppi, drying himself with his handkerchief. Like this, like this, like this. "I'm not silly," said Tricky. "Oh yes, you are." "Oh no, I'm not," said Tricky. "Oh yes, you are," said Dumppi. "I shan't ask you to my party. I shall come all the same, yes, and eat up your nicest jellies," said Tricky. "You won't," said Dumppi. "Oh yes, I will," said Tricky. "Oh no, you won't," said Dumppi. "Now then move on, you two," said Blue Boy, the policeman of the village. "Stop quarreling. Stop it." So Tricky and Dumppi had to move on. Dumppi was quite sure he wouldn't let Tricky come to his party, and Tricky was quite sure he would go and eat up the best jellies too. Look at the stack of the invitation. Don't you make invitation cards? Or your mom does? Dumppi set out his invitations, and do you know, everyone was invited this time, except Tricky, of course. He said he didn't care, not he, and in his cunning little head, he made a plan. It was to be a fine, grand party. There was to be a record player going, and everyone was to sing and dance and have merry time. There were to be 4 different colored jellies: green, red, orange and pink. Whoa, what colors, and yum! And a fine cake with a rabbit in sugar on the top. Ooh, ooh! The day soon came. Everyone put on their best clothes and looked as excited as could be, like we get excited when we are going to a party we would like to go to, isn't it? Our friends' or cousins' birthday parties. Look at the Dumppi house and a big queue, right? They all want to go, right? The day, so everybody was in their own best clothes and looked excited. Only Tricky kept on his old clothes, but he didn't seem to care a bit. He just ran about as usual, humming and whistling as if he didn't care about parties. 4 o'clock came. Gnomes, goblins, brownies and pixies crowded into Dumppi's little cottage. What a happy crowd. Only 2 people were not there, Tricky of course, and Blue Boy the policeman, who had to guard everyone's house because they were all empty. The record player was set going. Tra-la-la, la-la-la. The dancing began. Tat-a-tat, tap-a-tat. People sang as they danced. What a noise there was. Everyone was excited and happy because set out at the end of the room was a table full of good things. The 4-colored jellies shivered and shook. The sugar rabbit on the iced cake stood up and looked with very sugary eyes at all the dancers. It was a very merry, happy evening. I'm sure you all know what merry is. Merry is happy, being happy. Just everyone was feeling very hungry and thinking it was about time. The dancing stopped and the eating began. Poof, everybody is exhausted. There came a knock at Dumppi's front door. And here are the inviting orange, red, blue, yellow jellies waiting for them. Blim blah! Who can that be? Said Dumpy in surprise. He opened the door. Outside stood someone dressed in a blue uniform, looking very stern. Hello, Blue Boy, said Dumpy in surprise. What do you want? Have you any idea of the noise you are making? Said Blue Boy in a stern voice. Oh, we are only dancing and singing, said Dumpy. We are not making much noise, Blue Boy. And I say you are, said Blue Boy. I could hear it very plainly indeed, far from outside. You may not be able to hear what the noise is like from inside. It sounds really dreadful out here. You'll wake up everyone. But there's nobody to wake up, said Dumpy. Everyone is here at the party. Don't argue with me, Dumpy, said Blue Boy in such a cross voice that Dumpy was quite surprised. I tell you that the noise from outside is simply dreadful. I'll come out and hear it, said Dumpy. He turned around and called to his guests. The policeman says that the noise we are making sounds simply dreadful outside. I'm going to hear it. You had better all come and hear it, said the policeman. Then you'll believe what I say. Come along, everyone. Blue Boy went into the house and pushed everyone out. He shut the door. And once the door was shut, I can see you giggling. So you've guessed who the policeman is actually. He took off his big helmet and he wasn't Blue Boy at all. You were right. He was naughty Tricky, who had dressed up as a policeman to play a joke on Dumpy. There he is, taking off his helmet. Okay. He emptied the 4 lovely jellies into his helmet and snatched the sugar rabbit off the cake. Then he slipped quietly out of the kitchen door and ran out of the back garden home. He had been to the party after all. The people outside crowded together and listened to hear the dreadful noise that Dumpy's party was supposed to have been making. They listened and listened. I can't hear the sound, said Gobo, the pixie. Not a word, said Tippy, the gnome. The party's in a bit noisy, said Dumpy crossly. I don't know what Blue Boy meant. Why, there might be nobody in the house. It's so quiet. There's not a sound to be heard. Well, said Happy the Goblin with a chuckle, there's nobody in the house now except Blue Boy. We have all come out to listen to ourselves making a noise indoors. Ho, 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 ho. You silly geese, you silly ones. How could we hear ourselves when we are outside? Ho, 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 he roared. Everyone, and really it was very funny, wasn't it? It was funny trying to listen to yourselves from inside while you are outside. They had all got outside to listen to the dreadful noise they were making inside. Dear, 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 whatever next? Come on in, said Dumpy. We'll all tell that silly old boy we didn't hear a sound. So into the house they all went. But where was Blue Boy? Nowhere to be found. And where were the 4 beautiful jellies? Nowhere to be seen. And where was that lovely sugar rabbit? He was gone too. And the kitchen door was wide open. Oh dear, oh dear, oh dear. That wasn't Blue Boy, it was Tricky, suddenly cried Dumpy. Yes, it was. I thought his voice wasn't Blue Boy's. Oh, he has been to my party as he said he would. Oh, and taken the best jellies. And my beautiful sugar rabbit too. All because we were foolish enough to do what he told us and leave the house to hear the noise we were making. Groaned Happy the Goblin. I know, Dumpy. Let me run to Tricky's cottage and tell him we have found out his trick. And it was really very funny, you know. And say he can come to the party if he brings back the jellies and the sugar rabbit. All right, said Dumpy, go and tell him. He's too clever for me. I'd rather he was my friend than my enemy. Goodness knows what he would make us do next. So Happy raced off to Tricky's cottage. Tricky had emptied the jellies out of his helmet onto a big dish and was just going to eat them. Hey, stop, said Happy, running in. We want you to come to the party. That was a clever trick you played, Tricky. But don't make Dumpy unhappy about his jellies and sugar rabbit. He was very, very proud of them. Very well, said Tricky, getting up. I'll come and I'll bring the jellies and the rabbit with me. So here is the goblin and the Tricky rabbit. Tricky? Yes. So back he went to the party with Happy, and everyone laughed and said he was a rascal, and Dumpy said he would forgive him if he would promise to not play any more tricks. So they all settled down again, and the record player played, and the jellies were eaten, enjoyed, slurped, and the sugar rabbit was put back on the cake, where he looked simply splendid and delicious and yummy it was. It was a sumptuous, lovely party, even if the jellies did taste helmety, because they had been hidden under the helmet. Said Tricky when he said goodbye to Dumpy. Well, that was good, said Dumpy with a grin. How did you like this story? Did you? I enjoyed it. I found it. So you see, if you don't use your manners and let people find out you're not truthful, they don't like you, and you can miss on a lot of fun, lot of goodies, and lot of good things in life. And it's awful to have bad reputation and to be disliked, isn't it? And it's better to kind of be nice to people even if they have been naughty or rude or mean, maybe you can speak to their good side, and that good fellow who's inside comes out and responds in a good way. This is exactly what happened with Tricky and Dumpy and the goblin. A good lesson, isn't it? The sneezing donkey is the second story I thought I would share with you. You've all seen donkeys on the streets or wherever in the villages or suburbs. Once upon a time, there was a small grey donkey who lived in a farm field and ate the grass and the thistles there. As he wandered to cross the field, he felt a tickling in his nose. He lifted up his head. Achoo! Okay, a tissue. He sneezed. His nose trickled again. He sneezed even more loudly. Tissue! He blinked and looked around. He could quite well feel another sneeze coming. It came again. Tissue! She! He went so loudly that some geese nearby fled away in alarm. The donkey looked around, and to his surprise, it had begun to pour with rain. So, right as soon as he finished his sneezing, it started to rain. That was my big sneeze that did that. He thought to himself, please, I made it rain. I'm really very clever. Well, mostly they're far from clever. That's why he thought his sneezes had made the rain to pour down. I shall tell everyone what I've done. So he cantered over to the sheep and spoke to them. Here you can see the donkey sneezing away loudly and scaring the geese away. Sheep, listen to me. Do you see this pouring rain? Well, I made it come when I sneezed so loudly. How clever you are, said the sheep admiringly. Nothing happens when we sneeze. The donkey ran to the old brown horse and spoke to him. Horse, listen to me. Do you see this pouring rain? Well, I made it come when I sneezed so loudly. How clever you are, said the horse admiringly. Nothing happens when I sneeze. So they were all talking to each other and wondering why would it not rain when they would sneeze. The donkey did feel proud. He wondered who else could he tell. He saw the hens and the cock at the end of the field, and he trotted over to them. They were sheltering under the big hedge. Hens and cock, listen to me. Do you see this pouring rain? Well, I made it come when I sneezed so loudly. How clever you are, said the hens, and then cluck, 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 cluck. The cock admiringly. Nothing happens when we sneeze. Then we never do sneeze. Did you know? Roosters and hens did not sneeze. Well, the donkey swung his long tail about and wondered if he could tell anyone else. He saw the farm dog lying down in his kennel, and he cantered over to him. Rover, listen to me. Do you see this pouring rain? Well, I made it come by sneezing so loudly. How clever of you, said Rover admiringly. Nothing happens when I sneeze. The ducks came waddling by in a row going to the pond. They were delighted with the rain. The donkey ran over to them. Here are the 3 ducks waddling over in the rain, enjoying. They love water, you know that, right? Okay. Ducks, listen to me. Do you see this pouring rain? Well, I made it come when I sneezed so loudly. How clever of you, said the ducks admiringly. Nothing happens when we sneeze. How, but we would love it to rain whenever we sneeze. The donkey was so pleased with himself. that he simply didn't know what to do. The rain went on falling, pitter-pat, pitter-patter. It rained all day, it rained all night. It went on raining the next day too. The sheep got tired of the rain. The brown horse got tired of the rain. The hens and cock got fed up of the rain. Rover got tired of the rain. Everywhere was muddy. There were muddy pools, puddles everywhere. Everyone was wet and cold. Only the ducks, you guessed right, they were happy. They liked the rain. The sheep, the horse, the hens, the cock and dog gathered together by the hedge and grumbled to one another. Look what that silly donkey has done with his sneezing. No one would have minded just a shower. But why should he make it rain day and night like this? Let's go and tell him to stop the rain now. So they went to the donkey. He was standing under a tree thinking how marvelous it was to have sneezed so much rain down. And look at the animals, they look so tired and unhappy and soaking wet. They are dripping. Oh, so they went, okay, donkey, we are wet and cold. Stop this rain at once, neighed the horse. Donkey, our feathers are dripping. Stop this rain, clucked the hens and cock, cluck, cluck, cluck. Donkey, I have a feeling I shall bite your long tail if you don't sneeze again and stop the rain, barked Rover. You could be very fierce. The donkey stared at everyone in alarm. It had been easy enough to begin the rain. He wasn't at all sure he could stop it. Besides, he couldn't sneeze unless a sneeze came. Whatever was he to do? The ducks like the rain, he said at last. If I stop the rain, they will be angry and come and peck me. Well, we will be angrier and we will bite you, nibble you, cluck, 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 and peck you too, cried all the animals and birds at once. We'll bite you. I don't know how to sneeze unless a sneeze happens to come, said the donkey. And I don't know how to stop the rain. Well, why do you start a thing you don't know how to stop? So, don't make tall claims and untrue claims, and don't ever say that you started a thing which is not in your control. Woofed Rover crossly, I shall snap it at each of your legs, and I shall bite you with my head, said the sheep. And I shall kick you with my heels, said the horse. And we'll pack you with our beaks, and the birds. So they all began. They were so busy teasing the poor donkey that no one noticed that the clouds were blowing away and the rain was stopping, slowing down, pitter, patter, and the sun was shining bright. Okay, but that was what was happening. The fields shone and glittered in the sun. It was a really lovely day. Stop, stop, cried the donkey. Don't you see the sun? Why are you teasing me like this? The rain has stopped. You ought to be ashamed of yourselves. The animals and birds all looked around. The donkey was right. It was a beautiful day. The rain has certainly stopped. They all went off joyfully and left the donkey alone in the corner of the field. He was so relieved. Next time I sneeze, I won't say anything about it, said the great donkey. Not a single word. There's no pleasing some people. They all said I was too clever. Well, maybe I wasn't as clever as I thought I was. Next time he sneezed, He was so surprised to find that no rain came. But I'm not surprised. Are you surprised? No, you're not. You're such smart, bright little girls and little fellows. So I hope you enjoyed the sneezing donkey and the Dumpy's visits party. Well, I found them very cute, and you can always learn a thing or new names, isn't it? And it takes you away from home to other people's home. So today we visit Dumpy's home, and we also visited a countryside where we met all the animals. I hope you all had fun. Thank you for all your messages and your likes. I really appreciate it. See you soon. Enjoy your week. Bye-bye.